so I guess if we face this way, you'll be...
I see. Okay.
Blowpop Radio. I'm going to welcome my next guest again.
Lol.
Needs two introductions. Erica Schreiner, filmmaker and artist. I've been aware of Erica's work for some time, from the remarkable stills of their movies that worm their way around mood boards and story shares, ethereal, shiny, decadent. These images are the tip of the iceberg. I deep dive into Erica's work this week and was overwhelmed by the thought and patience I found there. Their two features, Satori and Special People, are episodic parables that navigate moral dilemmas in the manner of a Platonic dialogue or a Stoic treatise concerned with the morality of excess, humanity's relationship with nature, the effects of technology, and the role of friendship and community in shaping an individual. Erica's movies ask big, big questions. These films and more have screened at MoMA PS1, Nick Knight's Show Studio, the Portland Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, and the Berlin Underground Film Festival. They are the author of 2 collections of short stories, a novella, a book of poetry, and a chapbook of video stills. They are a member of New York Filmmakers Cooperative and on the curatorial committee of Millennium Film Workshop. They have a new exhibit opening next week. What day is it opening?
Thursday.
Thursday at Bill Hodges Gallery in Chelsea. So how was the week of install been?
It's been great. It's been intense, running around, getting projectors, making sure everything's going to work. But yes, it will be working. So.
And you're showing video pieces?
Yeah, I'm showing 5 films and 5 video stills, and then there is a installation of watercolors of like 100 watercolor paintings that are in one of the films called Birth. So they're all short, like under 10-minute films that'll be projected on different walls on a loop.
Is it your first time having a show like this?
I showed with this gallery back in 2011 and had a solo show, but it was in a different space and older work. So it's exciting to be back.
Good.
And in Chelsea, it's pretty fancy.
Chelsea on a Thursday.
Yes. Yeah.
The big time.
No, yeah. It feels like it.
Cool. Yeah, I watched The Special People last night. Wild movie.
Thank you.
I think I started to fall asleep during the last half hour. So
Oh.
I'm kind of on a no spoiler with it.
Okay. Not that it's boring or anything.
No, I started it at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was 2
Oh,
hours.
it is long, yeah.
There was
sorry.
this cat that that got locked out of my neighbor's apartment and was kind of wandering the halls screaming and waking up my cat.
Oh,
Nightmare. Friday the 13th.
yeah.
Yeah. So when did you start writing that, or what was the writing process for that?
I started writing it in 2015. It took years. I guess I worked on it for a while and then had to edit it and keep work. It was a lot to make that story.
Yeah. So the cubes in it, just to kind of talk about.
I can
the
give a
movie little bit.
synopsis.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Okay. So in my second feature film, The Special People, everyone in the forest, and there's a forest of pink paper mache trees. I shot the whole film in my apartment in Brooklyn. But all the people in the forest stare into these iridescent cubes, and they can't look away no matter what they do. But 3 people manage to break the trance of the cube, and they embark on a journey to try to find the overlords who guard the master cube in hopes of smashing it to bring consciousness back to the citizens of the forest. And the main character played by me, her name's Apple, and she goes on this kind of hero's journey and encounters these obstacles along the way. And so they're obstacles we face in life, but they're personified as the conformists or the counterfeiter, the comparison monkeys, the comforts. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like the Odyssey. Like it.
Oh, wow, thanks.
Well, it was just like, like here are the lotus eaters, here are the. But it was, and each time Apple learns a little lesson.
Yes. Yeah.
So in 2015, I feel like people weren't the cubes are kind of phones.
Yeah.
Or is it broader, just like the spectacle?
The like internet phone, the
Yeah.
addiction. People are addicted to their phones.
In 2015, I kind of felt like the really negative effects of social media and kind of getting blasted by this economy,
Yeah.
this attention economy, hadn't really like changed people's behavior so much. So I'm shocked that you started writing it so early. Like it wasn't really until like 2018 where I started to notice friends like talking like the internet.
Oh.
Like they were like kind of always on.
It's funny because when I started writing it, I remember feeling like, wondering if when the movie came out, if it would still be relevant, because I felt like I had been feeling the pain of people staring into phones constantly for, I don't know, since 2010, or I don't even know when they started doing it, but just, I want to be in a moment,
Yeah.
I want to have awkward moments and real moments and discomfort, and I want emotions, I want feelings, and I feel like, well, we all know, it's not even that I feel like, we all know when people start to feel nervous or uncomfortable, they pick up their phone and they get that quick dopamine hit, and I'm more interested in long-term dopamine hits.
Which is a big part of the movie too, is like,
Yeah.
like there's the kind of fun girl that won't row the boat with Apple.
Yeah, slumber.
Yeah, Slumber. She's really fun, and she would be a fun person to hang out with, but
Yeah.
pretty short on long-term dopamine release.
Right, yeah. Yeah, she won't row the boat.
She won't row that boat.
It looks like a lot of work for her, so.
Yeah, and then in that scene in particular, that was like something that stuck with me. The definition of friendship that kind of develops there is like, one is like, oh, friendships are just about chilling out, forgetting about things.
Yeah.
And then for Apple, she's like, no, I have a goal. Friendship is about getting closer to the goal, which, it doesn't really happen when everybody's kind of checked out.
Anesthetized.
Yeah. So what's your relationship with your phone like?
Well, I hate it.
Okay.
And I wish we could, I hope there is a time when we find the overlords who guard the master cube and we can smash it and turn them all off forever. And I think that, all the excuses people give, like, but we're so connected or whatever it is, the 60s happened and we didn't need cell phones and somehow people did Woodstock. So, but anyway, I have to use it for certain art things or just to let people know about the art, but I try to stay off of it or just do it in certain times. It always feels like it creeps in a little bit more, or it's so addictive. It's designed to be addictive, and that's hard. I keep it in airplane mode a lot. I charge it in a room that is not my bedroom, so I try to wake up and not look at it first thing. But that doesn't always, I'm not always successful.
So physical distance is a hot tip on breaking phone hypnosis.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Well, okay, so I wonder, this was a question I had written out, but I wonder what like kind of texts you cite for like your critique of telecommunications and social media, or if you're basing it on like real dialogue or your own thoughts. You mentioned like the 60s and Woodstock. Like when I kind of think about tech and what it turned into, I sort of like think of Adam Curtis's documentary where he's like, the hippies and tech were actually really close together. Like we're living in like a nightmare version of what the hippie dream was.
Wow. I don't know that documentary.
It's pretty good. It's about like the ties. It's called All Watched Over by Machines of Loving Grace, and it's about kind of like this hippie utopian idea of what telecommunications could be versus it as a military technology, and how the synthesis of it is like this like really addictive, overwhelming nightmare,
Yeah.
That doesn't really do either of what the visions of technology were.
Yeah. I think a lot of what's in the film is just comes from observation of, me just observing people around me and life stuff. I know when I was writing it, I thought a lot about Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go, just in terms of like a hero's journey, kind of a story arc of like, you're on your way up and everything's great, and then you're down in a lurch, and then you're on your way up again, and you have these kind of painful, like, desolate times. But in terms of the cell phones, I just feel that so much that I don't think I needed any other text.
Right. So, okay, you started in 2015. Did you notice that people were kind of vibing with your feelings about it as you wrote it? Because now I think that part of the reason why, like, I was like, oh, this movie feels like it just came out this past year.
September 2021.
2021. So it's pretty recent.
Yeah.
And like it seemed like the dialogue was stuff that just kind of creeps into everyday life too.
Right.
Did you kind of realize as you were writing it, because you said it was a long writing process, that you were picking up more and more people's disaffection?
Yeah, I guess I based some of the characters on people in my life, and I could kind of get inside of them and think, what would they say in this situation? And sorry, I'm easily distractible.
It's okay. It is pizza shop.
Okay.
Pizza party.
People get pizza.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they own.
Oh, they can get pizza anytime.
Yeah.
Back in 2015, when I started before I started to write it, I had this. I was studying memory, and memory is like a 3-part process. So part 1 is recognition, part 2 is storage, and part 3 is recall. And I was noticing, oh wow, because of the phones, we only have one of those parts. Like, we no longer really store our information or know how to recall it. All we do is recognize something and then know how to Google it to get that information back. And I was very worried about this, like, just as human evolution. What's going to happen to us if we are only using 1/3 of our memory? And so I thought, I want to create a group that exists off the internet, and we'll organize things off the internet, because how dangerous is it that all of our networks, and if we want to organize something, maybe something political, I don't know, it's all done on the internet. Like, that just seems like a bad idea. And so I thought, okay, I'll create this group, and we'll meet outside the DeKalb library at noon, and no phones allowed, and we can't store it in our phones. And if you want to know, where you're going to meet, you'll have to go to these certain cafes and ask the baristas, and it'll change every week, and it'll help us build our memory. And I told all these people, and everyone was very excited about this. And then Sunday at noon, I'm waiting outside the library, and no one shows up. They forgot.
Because
they didn't have a reminder. And then that's when I started writing the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty heavy inciting incident and
Yeah.
a disappointing brunch.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of, the utopian technologists would say, oh, it's, such a good thing that people don't need to memorize information. You could, build a car by Googling it. Mm-hmm. And it's like this kind of end of specialization of knowledge. Like, not that many people really use it that way, but that like is like kind of what, in the utopian sense of whatever Google does, that's like the big idea there. Like, do you have thoughts on that?
That just sounds so dark to me,
Really?
Yeah, I don't have utopian technology thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, in the movie, it's kind of clear that your like ethics is like really grounded in like pragmatic experience and relationships and building a sense of self.
Yeah, I
Is
think
that fair to say?
Yeah, and community, something I would like to change is probably at one point live a little closer to nature. When I have experiences with nature, I don't feel like I need technology. I don't think about it.
Okay. Nature is hard to come by.
Here it is. Yeah.
You have to go on a trip.
Right.
Get special boots.
Yes. But it hurts. Like, I feel, I'm from Oregon originally.
Okay.
So I grew up there kind of like near the trees and having a backyard and stuff and playing in the dirt. And, and being here, like I go long periods of time without seeing very many trees. And I think I just worry that my soul is turning gray from the lack of nature, because I'm a human being. Humans are part of nature, you know.
What kind of turned you on to the possibility of video or film as the vehicle to discuss these big philosophical issues?
That's a good question. I guess it's just my medium. It's the most exciting way for me to express. I think when I was, you know, in my early 20s and watching films, I just instantly wanted to make them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't like the enthusiasm for cinema is really infectious.
Yeah.
Do you have favorite movies or ones that you cite as particularly influential on your style?
Yeah. Probably the most influential ones, and I mean, it goes back a while, you know. I'm 39 now, so I started getting into this when I was like 20. Daisies by Vera Chitlova, Czech New Wave film from 1965 that was banned. That's a cool film because it also uses symbols and allegory to tell the story. And then my favorite movie is Celine and Julie Go Boating, directed by Jacques Rivette, one of the French New Wave guys.
I don't know that one.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
Huh. Daisies has like I feel like an annual resurgence in popularity.
Yeah, yeah.
It like hits on something zany that people want to express.
Oh yes, Sweet Movie. That's a big inspiration. I have one of the films that's going to be showing at the Bill Hodges Gallery is called Erase, where I eat live butterflies in that film. But there's also parts where I'm just licking sugar, which is directly inspired from Sweet Movie. Piles and piles of sugar.
When
Oh.
yeah, that's a great sequence.
Yeah.
That
It's been a while since I've seen it.
When Otto Mule died, I screened that, and it was the only time I've really shown something where people like walked out in disgust.
Oh, that's great.
Like mini scenes in it, like, and it was like kind of like a trickle.
Yeah.
Like one person was like, I hit my limit with, you know, this woman and
I
the
think
Mark
that's
ship with the
awesome.
child. But then with the Otto Mule stuff, it was like run.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a huge compliment if someone's like so moved to be disgusted that they have to leave. Like that would feel like success to me.
But you're pretty sweet in your movies. You're not super disgusting. Have you been?
Yes, like what you're about to see at the Bill Hodges Gallery is definitely more edgy. Like my feature films are more playful and palatable. But in, you know, Erase, I'm eating live butterflies, like 20 live butterflies. It was really intense. It was, you know, to say the least. I was sobbing and it was horrible. And then there's also a couple works where I drink or taste my menstrual blood that are going to be up.
Fun.
It's really fun, yeah.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Bill Hodges this next week. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. I only saw your feature films, and then I guess palatable is the right word, because your stills, they kind of take on a separate life from your movies, I think.
Yeah.
Like it was over the summer, somebody asked me, they were like, "Oh, I know that you're really into video. Do you know this person's work?" And I was like, "No, but like I've seen these stills many times over,
Oh,
kind
wow.
of like getting shared." Like, what do you
Yeah.
think about? I mean, I know your thoughts on the internet now.
There are some good corners of the internet. Sure. You know, I think like one of the worst things about the internet is the algorithm. And so things that existed maybe pre-algorithm or that use it a little bit in a more kind way. Like I was a fan of MySpace. I'm a fan of Tumblr, you know.
That was kind of the golden age of the internet being fun.
Yeah. Oh, which reminds me, I want to give a shout out to my longtime fan, Buchanan Moncure, who I met through MySpace.
Buchanan.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing I remember with MySpace, it being very much about real world interactions. Like there was a girl in Baltimore. I was living in Massachusetts, 17 years old. There was a girl in Baltimore that I started talking to on there, and it was like, we like the same bands. Like, you should just take a bus down here and we'll hang out this weekend. Like, MySpace was really fun for that. Like, it was not meant to be express yourself. It was like you're out to like find other people in your niches.
Yeah. And you could personalize your page. Like, I remember I had video art right on my MySpace page, and I met a lot of people that way, and
Probably
they became
learned
friends.
HTML a little
like
bit
Buchanan.
too.
Yes. IMG SRC equals.
I know.
Oh, it's just like how you put up a picture.
I kind of get that deep into it. There's something, well, I tried to learn HTML a little bit to program like a synth during lockdown. It's impossible. It's that thing of, it's all memory recall. It's like that thing of when you teach a child how to make a sandwich, you have to tell them to take it out of the wrapper first.
Whoa.
You know, like take one piece of bread out. Like you have to break it down. And it's just really hard to think through your behavior, like your thoughts that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for adults. Do you see solutions with memory in particular?
I think it involves, getting away from the cell phone stuff, from the computers, the cell phones. Like lately, I've been trying to just spend my evenings with none of it, like not even watching movies. Because sometimes I'll say, oh, well, a movie is not a cell phone. I'm not swiping or, scrolling. So, but just, even listening to a podcast, like everything is just input. And I think when you shut it all off and you're just with your mind, magical things can happen. And like your thoughts are rich, and people have forgotten that. They just get that anxiety.
Yeah. So this is something in Special People that also kind of reminded me of Adam Curtis's last movie. It's just hard for me not to reference this.
I gotta see it.
His last thing is called Can't Get You Out of My Head, which is 8 hours and is about Mao's wife and Tupac's mom and all these people that have tried to like find alternatives. And it kind of ends on this note that like, yeah, we've fallen victim to like a psychological model that assumes that we're really weak and we're addicted, like physically addicted to machines that make us really manipulatable. So like if in order to start to kind of imagine alternatives for the future or even what kind of life you want to live, you have to the first thing you have to build is confidence. Like before you even have an ideology, like you need to like kind of like buck off this feeling that you need to rely on constant input to like assure you or to act as like some emotional reassurance. In your movie, it's like that's like one of the very first things that the characters discover when they break the spell of the cubes is that they lack like confidence in really basic interactions, that they have a hard time with their voices. But it did strike me that is also something really prescient. And if you started writing it in 2015, the idea that like confidence as like a value and a virtue is something that it can't just be assumed in your life as an individual. Like it needs to kind of be fought for and fostered. So I was really touched by that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's important to trust yourself. I think people second guess their, I don't know, internal wisdom a lot. Like, oh, am I crazy? Should I do this? And it's like, no, you know what you want. You know what you need.
Right. And it's hard, though. It's really hard with all these influences.
Yeah.
Not to bring up like more references, but McLuhan's thing, it's like the media makes the globe a village. So, what happens in Madagascar is it directly impacts you by virtue of knowing about it. You have an opinion about it, you're concerned about it, whatever. And it's really hard with the internet to be like, there's all of these concerns, very little of which like you have any actionable process for. Like you can't really do very much. But you're very affected by it because you're consuming it. And it could be something really banal. Mm-hmm. Or it could be something huge like a global catastrophe, but it hits you the same way, that you're kind of like forced to like undermine your own place in the world. I'm just kind of talking. I don't even know if there's a question here.
No, I mean, that's interesting, undermining your own place in the world. Like, it makes me think a little bit about politics and like when the last couple elections, I felt like I don't want to get into any specifics whatsoever, but like, it felt really invasive. Like everyone was talking about it, and it's on like every channel and everything. And I wanted to get away from it, and I kept having this feeling of like, these people want me to stop my life and watch this big farce. Like they want me to, like it's like the Gladiators or something. Like everyone's supposed to stop and turn and watch and be entertained or think that they have a say. And I just felt very insulted by the whole process. Like I do not, do they stop and look at Erica Schreiner's life? Right. Are they like, what's going on with Erica Schreiner and her art? No. So I'm not really going to be paying attention to their lives until they pay attention to mine. It's like absurd.
Yeah, and I think that insulting is a good word for that. It really felt like, we were supposed to be annoyed or, have an opinion about every single, like tweets were treated as news during that whole election cycle too, where it was like, I don't know who in charge of whatever, ethical standards at these channels and stuff were like, oh, a tweet is news, like a knee-jerk reaction, but it was a disaster.
Yeah. And I want to fill my life with art and beauty and like, like the films I make, they're ethereal and magical and sparkling. And I think we're only here for a short time. Like we all die at the end of this. and it's not
maybe
sad.
Maybe you.
Well, it's just, it can be a beautiful thing if you're willing to face it. And I think part of that is like not escaping constantly into empty, toxic media, like escape into your own thoughts. It's rich there.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of richness there. And I also think that a lot of artists who have fought to, find a little place to build their ethereal, beautiful world oftentimes wind up rubbing against politics by nothing out of their own volition. I think of like Jack Smith.
Oh, yeah, he's a favorite. I'm very inspired
Yeah,
by him.
I can kind of see that in you. But I mean, he, with the censorship trials and then, with how he had like his own one-man crusade against the concept of rent, kind of kept finding out that, all he wanted to do was build this beautiful world, but it kept edging into these limits that were like kind of other people's control, other people's authority, other people's money.
Well, art, just being an artist, making art is political. It's an act of revolt. You're saying, I'm not okay with things the way they are, so I'm going to make this other thing. I'm not participating in society like this. I'm inventing my own, Yeah.
Yes. The artist's revolt.
Yes, and all artists have that,
It's kind of a romantic view of artists.
Yeah, thanks. I said something positive.
No, it is really positive, and it's hopeful.
Yeah.
Do you have any songs that you like? You want to play a song?
Oh, yeah. I've been listening to an album that was really inspiring to me by Tracy and the Plastics. Tracy and the Plastics is the project of Wynn Greenwood.
What's the album?
I don't know.
Well, we'll play Tracy and the Plastics song.
You have to do it through that?
Yes.
That might not be the right thing. Oh, maybe this.
Where? There?
Yeah, the top one.
Cool.
Okay. Here's a song.
Here's a song.
Oh, wait. No, I change it. I change it to this one. There we go. This one. I've been singing this song like for a week. Maybe 2 weeks.
Will the internet let us listen to it?
I don't know. I like listening to songs on repeat for days.
It kind of creates, that's like a shortcut to creating your own little world, like your own environment.
Yeah.
I do that too. I think it's like it lets you stay in a mood for longer. And
yeah.
All right, Tracy and the Plastics. Big stereo.
Watch the dog.
Oh,
All right, so I guess we'll conclude Erica Schreiner. Yeah. We'll conclude by any other hot tips on avoiding your phone.
Yeah, throw it out.
Microwave it.
I guess just like don't sleep with it next to you. Don't look at it first thing in the morning. Like we have to have these things because people are telling us we have to have them, but like use your own mind and, you know.
That is the hard thing. It's kind of like cigarettes, like quitting smoking. It's the first one that you have to keep like putting off. And
Yeah.
I got like I had COVID in November and I got like re-addicted to my phone.
Yeah,
Like
I
that.
actually had a surgery during quarantine and I started looking at it a lot more. And then I had to unaddict more. I mean, we're all addicted. It's not like, you know, I don't know. But yeah, baby steps. There's a book called Mastery. I've read a lot of these self-help books.
Yes.
I, had a lot of problems early on. And so lots of self-help books. But anyway, this book Mastery talks about how as humans we are most comfortable in homeostasis and the way that you break that. You just have to do uncomfortable things basically over and over. So
Kind of like exposure therapy.
yeah.
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 Self-help is an interesting industry because it's like its rise is right with advertising.
Oh, interesting.
Like I had to, like, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The first self-help book is advertising. Like, it's like the title itself was like a big win for early Madison Avenue and stuff. But it kind of like reflects this shift in the individual in America from like, go out west, take over land, you're your own person, be self-reliant, into like this new kind of conception of like, you vote with your dollar. You like create this persona. You know what I mean? Like you have many roles, but there's these products here to serve you. And I always kind of wonder, like, self-help as a genre. Like, I'm not ever gonna like doubt any like genuine insight that people get out of whatever. But it's like it kind of starts at the same time mass consumerism starts, where it's like, how do you deal with the fact that you can't imagine yourself as self-reliant anymore? I'm not even saying that there isn't a good critique of, the westward expansion mode of individualism.
Yeah, I feel like self-help is like the ultimate self-reliance, though, because you're like, I can solve this on my own with a book or through practice. Like, for me, a lot of the self-help has been overcoming trauma or disorders, and disorders that I was told you just have for life.
Well, that was a big thing in the 90s, too. Therapists would just be like, you're uncurable, but we can manage you. It's like, who wants to be managed forever? What a horrible way to approach medicine.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, and who wants to be on medicine, you know? So.
Ritalin. Well, although the Adderall shortage, I couldn't take it. There was no Adderall in New York for 3 weeks. I was not a Ritalin kid, but I kind of swear by Adderall as an adult. Now, since I... Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff.
I prefer psychedelics.
Yeah, well, okay, so, that's really popular now is like to help, kind of for like the same reason people like Adderall, though. It's like it helps you pay attention, it makes you a more creative worker.
I feel like with Adderall, what I seem to have noticed is that people develop a dependence on it and then can't be creative without it, and so that scares me. I wouldn't want to need something to be creative.
Yeah, it's not good for the creative process. It's like a get things done drug.
Right.
Like if you have it like kind of mapped out in your head what you want to do, it's like, wow, I'm really explaining the virtues of Adderall. Like if you've already programmed the drum machine, write the song afterwards after you take Adderall. But if you're, during the creative part, it's like horrible.
Yeah, I can't.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what self-help books can you have to recommend?
Nonviolent communication. That's got to be one of my number one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's good. I haven't checked out Mastery, but you're one of I've heard people mention it before as like a good one to check out.
Art and Fear is probably my favorite book. It's like a self-help book for artists. yeah, I was lucky to read that when I was like 22, and I reread it every year. It's so good. And then I just read one my friend Tim sent me called The War of Art, which is really good.
I've checked out that one.
Yeah. You're hesitant?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
With him. I don't know. I like Artist's Way. I swear by that one.
That one's hard for me.
I like that she kind of, it's similar points as War of Art, but she breaks it down into like more actionable steps as opposed to these like big theses.
Yeah. Well, there's something for everybody.
There's something for everyone. I honestly think that probably the content in that book wasn't what got me. It was the style.
Oh, yeah. See, I liked the way he's kind of berating you into...
It was like reading Nietzsche. It was just like, whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. And I journal every day, and I have for years. So reading The Artist's Way, I was kind of like, yeah.
Oh, you were all set.
What? Yeah.
That's like its big thing is
Yeah.
making you journal every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, self-help is good. It's people get a lot out of it. That's something in Special People too, where you're a little bit like, I don't really think that there's any use in condemning people that figure out something that works for them. But like,
Yeah.
there's all these like moral lessons in that movie. I kind of can't get over it. I'm
Oh.
thinking about it all day.
Do you, if we have time, do you have any like thoughts on it, comparing it to Satori? Because you saw both.
They're both too new to me for
Okay.
me to do like a comparative thing.
Yeah.
Satori was it was like mostly lessons,
Yeah, I guess so.
but it's a nice structure. They're like parables.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I like.
I mean, okay, this is a question for you. I'm kind of remembering my list of questions because I ditched it. But, so many video artists move straight into non-narrative work, or they like stick by non-narrative work. What to you is the attraction of making narrative pieces the way that you do? I know that you must do more performative stuff that's without narrative, but like, it's rare to meet a video artist that is like also like a really tried and true practitioners of like,
Story.
yeah, her hero's journey style narrative. It's great.
I think they all have stories. Yeah, they all have some kind of story, and the ones that seem like they don't have a story do have a story. There's just like symbols telling those stories. Even if they're eggs rolling around, those eggs represent different people, and they're telling a story. I put a lot of thought into the plots and the stories. It's hard for me to understand or appreciate like video art that doesn't have that. I'm like, what are you getting? Is it just a vibe, or we're just kind of watching some colors and some lights and some pretty things? Like, I need more. I need richness and depth.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of an issue with video art getting a lot of eye rolls, is people I think are like, oh, it's not trying to tell me anything.
Yeah, and actually for years when I would tell people I was a video artist, I would say like, but not like how you think.
Right.
It's not just flashing lights or stuff.
There's good stuff like that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe
in my own personal aesthetic, I do like
I feel like you can have both though. Like,
are there video artists that you in particular that you look up to for their incorporation of narrative?
I'd have to think about that. I feel like right now, I've been in conversation with my friend Lala Drona, and she's a really cool feminist video artist who's also like a performative video artist. And her stuff's great, but our work looks really different,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that maybe some of the shock was that your work has such a distinct style that it almost seems like, yeah, you could just totally bank on that. Like,
right.
Like you're somebody where it's like you could go to the dollar store and make a really good image, but then you have a lot to back it up.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I have a thing where I don't want to add to the clutter. I don't want to waste your time. If you're going to give me 2 hours of your life, I want to make sure I give you something back. Or 10 minutes. If you give me 10 minutes, 1 minute, like,
It's good that you have respect for your audience. Honestly, I had a falling out with a friend that's a video artist because they had this like a huge show, got a lot of funding, and they made something that just I was like, there's people that would like kill for this opportunity. And
That
you
kind
made,
of
like,
stuff really pisses me off.
It's really, and I was like, you just kind of, maybe you had a breakup, and it just kind of seems like you were sad, but you didn't really give anybody anything.
Yeah, empty work. I mean, there's so much empty art.
So
And
what do you
it-
think
yeah.
what do you think of like classic video art stuff like Carolee Schneemann or Vito or Mike Kelly? Does any of that like play to you? I know that we mentioned Jack Smith, but
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate all that stuff. I studied under Marina Abramovich, and she showed me like Bruce Naumann's work and some of her early work, and that was really exciting. M.M. Sarah, some of her work. Yeah. Yeah, I really admire those people. I mean, they're making, I guess, the early video, performative video art, and there's something going on there. It's not lazy.
no, not at all. It's
William Wegman.
the dogs?
Yes.
Well, he was so good he got on Sesame Street.
Yeah, he's so fantastic. I mean, those, my earliest video art project that was on MySpace was called the Sky Project. And when I saw William Wegman, I was like, oh, we're like the same. Because it was just very playful like that,
Are you playful with how you direct actors?
Yeah.
Or do they have to stick to the script? I know whoever we're broadcasting to might not have seen The Special People or Satori, but there's no dialogue, really. It's mostly shots of faces, kind of in like, it reminded me of Passion of Joan of Arc.
Uh-huh. Well,
Like
there
that
is
style, like,
dialogue,
very
it's just
close up.
subtitled.
It's just subtitles. So, sometimes it seems like you have people like the monkeys and Special People who are
Yeah.
like, they seem like they must practice clowning or something.
Yeah. I mean, all the people in the movie are my friends.
Right.
And other artists.
So are they indulging you, or do you have to give them some training?
Well, so they would come over, and I had, I think the film had like a 200-page script. And basically each scene, I would work with the actors, and we would read the script over and over, and then we would record it. And then when I was filming, I would play it over a speaker, so they had it to respond to. Okay. And so then I could also edit to that. And I kept the writing pretty accurate. I think I might have changed one or two subtitles, but yeah.
Oh, so there's nothing like, oh, this person made a funny face, I'm going to insert a joke.
No, it's like they made a funny face because they're thinking the thought that's on the bottom of the screen.
Wow.
And you'll notice, like, I'll say, I think it's beyond those mountains, and then I'll point. And,
yeah.
it's...
So how did you come to write like this? Like, did you take screenwriting classes?
No. I studied graphic design. All this is, like, self-taught. And, I mean, self-taught, it's like, I watched a lot of movies, and, I'm passionate about art. Like how we were just saying, oh, I'll listen to a song for 2 weeks straight, just that one song. Like I really do, or even lyrics. I'll study them. Sometimes I'll take lyrics and like kind of diagram them out and notice patterns in them and circle them and try to figure out like what it was that writer, what kind of, I don't know a better word, tactics they used to emote in that way. And I think like just studying art and being a fan of art, like I hosted an open mic for a few years in the East Village, and then you see a lot of art, a certain kind of art. Comedians, poets, just all of it. I want to know how it's made and what it's about, and that helps me know. Even if you see bad art, you learn a lot. Okay, why is it bad? What are they doing?
Yeah. Does it have anything that pulls you in anyways?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I'm fading.
Okay, well, this has been fun. Thanks for talking to me and bringing me out here. The financial district is pretty ominous, and I don't usually come out here, but this is a really cool place.
It's really kind of fun being in an ominous center of global finance.
Yeah.
Not as fun as Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you made friends with other gallerists there?
Other gallerists?
Or like there must be other openings on Thursday. Is there like are you in touch with anyone?
I'm not, because I guess I've just been going to this gallery, you know. I handed someone a flyer in the elevator today. But that might be as close to that as I got.
Fun. All right, so Bill Hodges on Thursday. I'm assuming 7 to 9.
6 to 8.
6 to 8. And then they kick you out.
I don't know what's going to happen. It'll probably be like a gentle, you know, moseying to the door.
I've definitely been at an opening before where I've heard the owner say, we need to get the riffraff out of here immediately.
Well, we're not going to use that word
Which
ever.
I'll always remember because of riffraff and immediately.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's really extreme.
Yeah. Also, my band, Modern Flame, is playing at the Broadway in Bushwick on the 23rd.
Oh, cool. They have a good sound system.
Oh, great.
And, like, pretty nice LED backlights.
We've played there once before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I thought the sound system was great. You thought it was great? Maybe it's great.
For electronic music, I don't know what kind of band Modern Flame is.
Rock.
Rocking
we rock.
out. Cool. All right.
Okay.
Blowpop Radio. Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, thank you, Miles.
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course.
I'm going to play this Cat Power song that popped up.
Okay.